Hey, what's going on, guys? So I'm just riding around right now. I want to make kind of a quick video. A few things I've really gotten, me personally, I think a lot better at since I first became riding. Becoming a new rider, it's kind of be more specific to first-time rider, and specifically a sport bike, something over 600 cc's, really any sport bike, probably any motorcycle in general. But I'm going to focus more on my situation. That's kind of my whole channel, just sharing the journey of being a new rider. I started on this bike right here. It's a Suzuki GSXR 600. I bought it 2019, got it new. Things that you hear and you read and you things you probably know or you should know, but it's kind of hard to put into action. So I'm going to kind of explain a few tips. Might be like 3 tips for a beginner rider, from a beginner rider kind of thing. I'm not sure if I'll have 1 or 2 tips, maybe a couple more. But I'm just going to kind of go through a few things I've really been working on more. Just even today, I've been riding for a few hours, just going around, and things that are really starting to kind of all come together for me. I want to just kind of make a quick video and share it. So thing number 1, I would say, really have to relax your arms. In order to do that, you have to lean forward more and you have to squeeze the tank with your legs. I remember first day riding, like on the roads, after 10 minutes my legs were actually, it still happens to me too a little bit sometimes, my legs will actually like shake. They're like like, I don't know, like your legs will shake because it's probably like probably tight, you're nervous, being a new rider, but also I think you're just not using the right parts of your body. But you have to really squeeze that tank, and you got to relax on the arms. If you're real tight on your arms, the bike's not going to respond. You're going to be fighting all of its natural mechanics, really. So let me go through a couple turns and just kind of things I've been doing today that really helped me. So have relaxed arms. You should be able to take your hands off the bike without feeling like it's going crazy, and don't do it if you can't do it. I mean, it happens in little bits and pieces, things like that. But whenever you're riding anything over 20 miles an hour, you should be able to counter steer. So the best way, I mean, you've definitely seen videos. Right now I'm going to go right, I'm going to push left forward on that left handlebar. I'm going to go into the turn. So if I'm going to go left, I push left. I don't turn the steering wheel right. I'm actually pushing and counter steering. That's all things you guys know. But you really can't feel it whenever you're too tight in your arms. You're trying to force it, the bike's fighting you. You're going to get more shakiness, less balance. So that'd be my first tip. Relax your arms and be tighter on the tank. A way to test that, if you can't turn with one hand, not saying you should do this, you're not really counter steering. You may be, but you're fighting the bike. So right now I should be able to turn left and right with my right hand. It's not the easiest thing, but I've been practicing just little by little. So right now if I want to go right, I push with my right hand. But also if I want to use that same hand, and let's see if I can make this left turn, it's a little bit tighter, so I always have this hand, I can just pull it back. If I pull with my right hand, I should be able to go left as well. So I'm pulling in and I'm leaning a little bit left and the bike goes left. So I'm steering with my one hand. Don't recommend doing that really, but that's the way you can kind of feel it. It's twist of the wrist. I've watched that multiple times. I always recommend it and I bring it up in my videos. But I re-watched it, and that was something they kind of showed and they stress, is the one guy was making these turns using one finger. So you're really just, you're leaning forward, you're trusting your bike. Don't go above your skill level, but something you should kind of always work towards, or just get a feel for it. So it doesn't have to be a turn. I could just be in the road right now going straight. I push, I go over a little bit, I can pull with that same hand using my right hand right now. So I can push forward, so that bring me right through this turn. And also we'll go right to point number 2 right now, and that's still really important. I'm just using my hand right now. You always should be ready and always have 2 hands, because you don't know when something's going to come out at you or whatever it is. You should be always more prepared than careless. Just be smart about it. And then something you always hear, or at least this is all me talking about myself personally, things I've heard but I kind of forgot about, planning the route to your turn. Sounds kind of obvious, but I really wasn't doing it. I was had so many other things going in my head where I stopped doing that. So say this is a very mild turn. I'm thinking on the outside, and I want to go in towards the inside. So kind of plan the route of your turn. That could be different for anyone, but if you go without even a mindset at all, it definitely is going to be sloppy. So right now I want to be the outside, slow down, turn my head left. I'm focusing on the middle, maybe inner lane if there's no car, and now I'm looking at the outside lane already. So now I'm kind of getting wide again, and I'm getting the outside. So that way all your turns aren't nearly as sharp, and you're just more in control. You have more view throughout the entire turn. So right now I'm on the outside, I'm looking forward, and now I'm looking way up there to straighten out. I'm not just cutting it hard, so I'm kind of looking way ahead. So look ahead, go from outside to middle on the main roads, maybe outside to inside if it's not a blind turn you can see ahead. So first thing, work on your counter steering, being tight with your legs, loose with your hands. You should be able to do that with one finger, just when you're in the middle of the lane going straight. It doesn't have to be a full turn, you can just be changing your lane position and work on that kind of stuff. And then the next thing we just said right now would be kind of looking ahead and planning out your turn. So outside to middle, I'm just kind of looking ahead. I have a game plan going into that turn, so I know where I'm trying to put my bike. Kind of the opposite of target fixation, where if right now I'm looking at a telephone pole, I'm going to run wide. I'm not looking at the road. Give yourself something to focus on that's positive. Don't look at the pothole, look next to it, or look where you want to go, kind of thing. So that's, I think, both two obvious things, but I kind of forgot to do it. I was always straight arm, and I would try to lean forward, and then I was like still flexing and holding the bike tight. Relax your arms, focus on using your body more, and if you can get that feeling of pushing the handlebar just a little bit with a finger and the bike responds to you, you know you're doing something right. If not, and it's just super crazy, it's not going to do anything for you. And I've kind of learned about, I mean, you're going to learn by yourself naturally, even if no one tells you. You can just feel it. So first thing would be that with the counter steering and being loose on the bars. I really can feel it because I always try to stand, like I'll stand up on my bike. I mean, just kind of fun, to be honest. It's the only reason. Not that you recommend it. If you are going to do it, a couple things where I've got little scares on it. Lean back a little bit. I mean, you shouldn't do this, but I'm just going to tell you because I've done it wrong. Lean back a little bit, and if you need to, pinch your legs still in the tank. So if you hit a pothole and it wants to throw you forward, you're not going over the handlebars. You're kind of standing up and pinching your knees still on that tank. So same thing, kind of letting the bike steer itself. Don't be too tight on your arms. So that's another way you can feel it. The one time I stood up and I tried to put my left foot on the back peg, and it was like terrifying because I was just all arms, and whenever I did that, it really moved the bike around. But whenever I do it and I'm focusing on holding the tank, I'm really standing on the pegs. Totally different feeling. It gets very smooth. The bike doesn't go anywhere. So that's another way you kind of can just feel it through trial and error and things like that. But okay, and third tip, it's not going to be so much right now when I'm riding on the road. I talked about it in one of my videos previously where I was doing some like low speed practicing in a parking lot. Really use your clutch and use your rear brake. And that's just something you're gonna have to, I think personally, not even worry about it first. You're gonna just take it really slow, be able to get the bike going and not stall. Go just in safe places where you can turn. If you take it wide, it's not a big deal. Don't go fast. If you're going very slow, you can go 2 miles an hour through a turn and just kind of baby and almost walk the bike if you need to. But once you get maybe the first 100 miles, first 1,000 miles, whatever it is, some people hop on the bikes and they're just naturals. They comes a lot easier for them, or they've had dirt bike experience or whatever it may be. But for me, it's just kind of clicking now, almost 2,000 miles later, 1,500 miles in, of getting that experience where I can even think about using kind of extra elements, things you need to use, but just if you're not riding beyond a certain skill level, you don't really need them that much early on. As long as you can get a handle of just the throttle, using the clutch, shifting, not stalling, getting the bike to start and go kind of thing. You're not going to be going fast enough where you have to worry about downshifting while you're stopping and using your front and rear brake kind of simultaneously. Things you definitely need to learn, but right away you're not going to, it's not all going to click like that, so you got to just kind of take baby steps. But once you do get comfortable, get used to using your throttle while the clutch is still engaged. So it's not always just, someone's coming behind me, I got to go here. But it's not all, like right now I got the clutch in, I'm giving it a gas, slowly letting off that clutch. Things like that where you're going, you can keep that clutch engaged for quite some time and still be giving it gas, and that's going to give you a lot more control of the bike, especially at low speeds and at turns. So whenever you're coming out of a turn, don't feel like you have to start the bike, let go of the clutch, and then get the gas going, because it just, there's a lot going on at once and it does get hard. So you can feather that clutch out and still give it gas. Something you kind of know, but it's so obvious to like a rider that you don't really get they don't really explain it, because they kind of forget it's like was ever a big deal. But I'm still like right between that phase where I can still remember day one of how these little things are so daunting. But yeah, don't be afraid to keep that gas rolling on and control the clutch, because you can be real high in that throttle, and as long as that clutch is engaged, you can kind of control your speed with that. Nothing you want to do for a long period of time, but coming in through a turn or getting stopped or started, and that's gonna be real helpful, more so slow speed, like parking lots, things like that. But then one step further, whenever you're doing that, you also can apply the rear brake. Slow yourself down even more, but you still have control of the bike whenever you're giving that gas and you're controlling that clutch. So you can give it all those things, but you're not going too fast. I was always thinking gas then brake, gas then brake. It was kind of a stop and go like a car. But the clutch and the rear brake just are whole additional elements that you're not going to have when you're driving a car or something like that. There's a lot more in between ground. So that'd be another tip I'd say. And this is all kind of trying to give us like bullet points, kind of go through stuff. But I mean, I'm just riding around today, and there's some things where I'm right here, I'm making turns one-handed for practice, really. I'm still my hand's ready to grab onto it, but I'm just kind of learning the bike like more one-on-one, like things you hear and you know, but you have to kind of put it to use and try it out for yourself and feel it. And baby steps too, not all at once. You're going to just kind of gradually take your hand off for a second and put it back on. And if you take off, you shake, it's probably because your hands are tight and your legs are loose. Get those legs on the bike, let the bike kind of steer itself a little bit. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about, and this is just kind of 3 or 4 things we'll talk about today. I already made a video earlier, but I just was getting very comfortable on the bike, to be honest. I almost went back like 3 times and parked the bike, and I just was having such a good time. I just wanted to keep riding. All right guys, that's about it for today, but I just have 2 more quick tips while I stopped and filled up some gas. Every time you get gas, and this is kind of a personal preference, figure out how to work all your miles and stuff on your, hopefully you have it, but I always change and reset my miles every time I fill up a tank, so I can kind of dial it in and get a feel for when I know my gas gauge is about to go on. I was like 90 some miles, and around 120, 130 I usually need to get gas. I probably could get around 140, maybe max, I don't know. I've never obviously ran out of gas, but reset that tripometer whenever you're getting gas to get a feel for it. And then the last thing we're about to demonstrate is we were talking about how to use your clutch and your brake. Up here we're going left. Whenever you stop on a hillside, I'll let this car pass, but so right here I come up, usually I'm always using my front brake, it's a lot more responsive. But you're gonna go there, so now I let go of my front brake, I'm on a hill, I want to roll back, so I want to have my rear foot on the back brake. So learn how to do that at stops, and that's something no one ever, people probably do talk about it, but I know I was kind of confused about it at first. Kind of I've watched so many videos, it's one thing I never really heard. Especially a lot of people learn on flat areas or in California or wherever, and they don't have these hills. I'm in like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. Anytime I come to a stop, you can't really take your hand off of everything at the same time. So I'm coming up here, I'm slowing down, I pull in the clutch, I slow down with my front rear brake. Let me say that again. So I come up, whenever I'm coming to a stop or something, I'm going to pull in the clutch, I'm going to apply front brake, and then you can downshift, you can let go of that while you're still doing it, or you can just kind of pull clutch, front brake, downshift all the way while the clutch is still engaged, and then you start to apply your rear brake with your back foot, come to that stop. But then once you're at the stop, if you want to take your hand off the front brake, you can, but you have to have your foot on the back brake. Whenever you're on a hill and you need to take off, so if you're at a stop sign on a hill, you can use all the front brake and the rear brake. When it comes time to using your right hand to use your gas and get out of there, have your back foot on the rear brake, so you're not like timing up and not drifting backwards all at the same time. Use your rear brake for slow speed turns, use it for stop signs, use it to take your hand off at a red light, anything like that, and make sure your bike can't just roll away. Even if you're stopped somewhere and there's people behind you stopped, so you know no one's going to come hit you from behind, you can go ahead and put your bike in neutral. Not perfect. I mean, sometimes your bike will kind of get stuck in neutral, so I don't recommend doing it first. Just kind of hold on to that clutch and keep the bike ready to go. But if there's no one, if there is someone behind you stopped, or there's no cars that are using your mirrors, and you're at a stop at a light, it's okay to put your bike in neutral, let go of the clutch, let go of the front brake, and then you're just kind of balancing on your left leg, leaning left, and you're using your right leg on the rear brake in between that. So whenever you're taking off, you're kind of almost fighting the rear brake, and then you slowly give off. That way you're not falling backwards. That'd be like my last tip for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just want to kind of be a little bit more informative, hopefully more from a beginner's perspective, where you can kind of think of some things that I know I'm just slowly overcoming now, and I think would be helpful for a new rider. So thanks for watching, guys. Just a kind of overview. I think we had 4 or 5 tips. First thing is relax your arms, keep your legs on the tank, let your bike go. Whenever you turn and counter steer, you should be able to just push with very little, push and pull with just one hand, a couple fingers, and your bike should give some responding, and it should be smooth. Number 2 would be to learn how to use your clutch while you're still giving it gas. So I always was just, okay, I don't want to stall the bike, let me get going, and then I wouldn't even think about the clutch. The clutch for me, it was just a stop and go. I never used it while I was trying to go anywhere or turn. So don't be afraid to give it gas and slowly release that clutch, because you'll still get some grab whenever the clutch is half engaged, half like let out, and you're giving it gas. I forget if I'm missing a third one, but then I remember we just talked about whenever you're getting gas, you can reset your mileage, so you know how far you're going and when you're going to need gas. Because that's definitely one thing you don't want to have to worry about whenever you're riding, is running out of gas. I mean, that's one thing you should just always fill up, but then know how to just work the mechanics on your bike. If you have an A and a B mode, I just did a video recently about that. Know how to do that kind of stuff, and actually be able to work your bike in all the technology of it. And then use that back brake whenever you're on a hill or you're at a stop, so you can kind of relieve yourself from holding on to your front brake and your clutch constantly. Kind of give yourself a break whenever you know you're going to be sitting somewhere for a minute. And also taking off from a stop on a hill where you're not particularly going downhill, but whenever you're going uphill, you don't want to be rolling back and fighting all those things. But this was just kind of on a whim. I had all this stuff in my head. It's kind of hard to talk and ride at the same time. But hopefully this is helpful to some people. Thank you guys all for watching the video. If you like it, like below. If you haven't already subscribe. You guys have been awesome with the channel. It's been growing pretty quick, which I'm definitely happy about. I think this is some good content, some stuff I know I wish I would have seen when I was looking for a bike and kind of getting my first bike, all that good stuff. Kind of, I want to see people's first perspective, not someone's been riding for 5 years and talking about how to get their first bike. Looking back, it was kind of cool to even watch my own videos and go back and see these kind of things. So thanks again for watching, guys. I know the videos are going to keep getting almost a little bit more advanced. For me personally, I'm getting a little bit more experience. I don't know if it's going to be a little bit different for you guys, but I'm not saying I'm the perfect model of a rider. I'm just sharing my experience. That's kind of the last thing I want to say. I don't want to say I'm like a how-to guy. I'm just kind of making videos and sharing my journey, guys. But thanks for watching, guys. Check out some of his older videos. I'm going to post them on the screen right here. Comment below, like the video, subscribe. I already said that good stuff. But stay safe out there, guys. Comment what bikes you have or what bikes you want to get, and definitely have a good day. Stay safe out there. See you in the next video. Peace.